G'day everyone, how you doing? It's me, back with another video. And I'm just going to cut to the chase. We're going to be talking about what is in the description section below. We're going to be talking about the deep state in America and just exactly what it is. I know in the previous video I put across the impression of just like letting it go, not really giving too much of a rat's ass about how the world works or anything like that. However, I've spent a huge amount of time over the last 20 years studying and researching and trying to get to the bottom of stuff, trying to figure out how things work, all that sort of thing. And it would be a real disservice of me not to share that information with the world, because I've gone down the rabbit hole. And then the rabbit hole turned into a gerbil hole, and a gerbil hole turned into a wormhole, and it just kept on going down and down and down. And I finally feel like I got to pretty close to the bottom of it. And part of my personal design, who I am as a human being, is to bring truth into this world. That's one of my primary jobs. So I found that it would be a real disservice, one, not to share the information that I actually know, and two, it would be, when you're going through your own awakening, when you're having your own come to Jesus moments and all this different stuff, it's really advantageous to understand how certain things work, how certain things in this world are manipulated and coerced, how we're lied to, so many different things. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to cut to the chase. And just honestly, your deep state is these guys right here. I'm not joking in any way, shape, or form. And we're going to discuss this deeply. These guys right here. This book right here is a 33-degree Masonic Bible written by Albert Pike. And if you do your research, you'll actually find out just how much of a twisted individual Albert Pike actually was. And, even the Civil War itself was all orchestrated by these guys. Pike himself was I think he was a general in the Civil War. Even Abraham Lincoln, he was one of these guys during the Civil War. The founding of this country, a lot of these guys had, some of these guys had a lot to do with this. A lot of the original people that moved to the United States when it was first being settled were these guys leaving Europe because they were ran out of Europe. They weren't welcome in Europe. Now, what a lot of Americans don't understand, and they need to start correlating these two organizations together, is that at the highest degrees of these guys here, this is the 33-degree Bible, your Masons are these guys. Now I have to use cue cards because if I mention certain names, the videos are going to get pulled. That's all there is to it. So the reality, the truth, sincerely, is that these guys right here, in bed with these guys right here, they're one of the same. They're the same group of people, because at the highest degrees of this organization, they are primarily, a huge amount of them are this group of people right here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is Americans are actually going through a real red pill moment at the moment in regards to a certain organization called AIPAC that supports a certain country in the Middle East. And Americans are really starting to wonder what in the name of God is actually going on here. Well, the truth of the matter is this stuff has been going on since the founding of the United States of America. Because the reason why the United States of America was founded was to continue slavery. And the reality of the situation is that what is going on here in the United States is literally just an extension of what has been going on in Europe for thousands of years. And for the last few hundred years, or maybe 1,500 odd years, these guys right here at the highest level have always been these guys right here. They're literally the ones that have brought about, this debauchery that you are experiencing right now. All the wars, the banking system, they are the banking cartel. That's all there is to it. They're like a mafia. End of story. That's it. They are the ones. I did a video a while ago about these guys being the gatekeepers. I'll put that video in the description section below. They're the interwovenness of what is going on right now with these guys right here and these guys right here is unbelievable. And nobody in any form of media right now is talking about the correlation of these two organizations. What has happened is it's the European elites, the Illuminati, that have been working very, very diligently to get their claws back into the United States, primarily because of the fact that for a very long time, these guys right here really didn't have as much say over what happened here. And believe it or not, once this country was founded and once the settlers that really started coming here, once the European settlers started coming to the United States en masse, what happened was these guys right here, they got ran underground. They got ran underground for about 60 to 80 years because the settlers didn't want to have anything to do with them, because the settlers that were coming here literally were escaping these guys' BS in Europe. And that's the truth. You can research this stuff. I mean, it's all there. It's all available for people to actually look into and research. So, the crazy thing about it is the reason you've got what you've got going on right now is you've actually got the European Illuminati, or the elites of these guys right here, okay? These guys right here in bed with these guys right here, which is your banking cartels. They are making a power play to get their claws into the United States, like really, 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 really deeply. And these guys, these individuals, their fingerprints are all over everything. Their fingerprints are all over the founding of the CIA. Their fingerprints are all over the Second World War, the First World War, the Napoleonic Wars. I've said in a previous video about how at the highest degrees they're a satanic death cult. But what Americans don't understand is that the tentacles of this organization trickle all the way out to not just your regular U.S. state government, your U.S. government, as far as, your congressmen and senators and stuff like that. It trickles all the way down to your state governments. It trickles all the way down into your local governments. It trickles down into your police forces. It trickles down into your judges. It trickles down into your lawyers, a lot of your military personnel, especially in the U.S. Navy. There's a ton of these guys in the U.S. Navy. So what happens is a really, really good example of this is how, this particular country right here is apparently the chosen land for these guys right here. Well, all that stuff was a complete and utter invention by these guys at the highest degrees. I'm not joking. Everything about, and trust me when I tell you this, again, it's researchable. Everything about this country here being a chosen land for these people here was all invented by these guys. It was a pure invention just so these guys right here would have a military base, a public manned military base in the Middle East that was supposedly an ally. And these guys right here, in bed with these guys right here, have brainwashed the living snot out of the public in that country in the Middle East. This country right here. It's absolutely mind-numbing. And they own your media, all of your media. You can tell just which, the majority of alternative media is so co-opted, it is absolutely unbelievable. The current president of the United States is absolutely balls deep in bed with these guys. I have not been able to find any information about the current president of the United States being one of these guys, but I can 100% tell you unequivocally, Ronald Reagan was definitely, he wasn't one of these guys, but he was a honorary Mason. George Bush Sr., old man Bush, you know, he was the one pushing the whole New World Order. Remember that speech back in the 1990s? Yeah, he was one of these guys. He was one of these fellas here at the highest level. And who was standing in front of the Texas Book Conservatory when a certain U.S. president was supposedly shot by a lone gunman? Who was the person standing at the door of the Book Conservatory with a rifle? It was George Bush Sr. These guys' fingerprints, and I'm going deep here, these guys in bed with these guys, their fingerprints were all over the, they were all over the assassination of Kennedy. Straight up. No BS. Because these guys, they have their own little band of merry men called Mossad, and, you know, and pretty much, in all sincerity, even the CIA. The CIA is just an extension of British MI6 intelligence, MI7, which is a crown organization. And when you realize the United States is still being ran and manipulated literally by the European elites, because it's the banking system that and the bankers that control the United States of America. That's all there is to it. So the primary guys that are bankers and that control the banks are literally these guys. These guys run the crown corporations. Straight up. The head of that group of individuals is literally the British Crown. I'm not joking in any way, shape, or form. So there's only a small handful. And just to give you an idea, like all the bullshit that's going on in the Middle East right now, the previous Saudi king was literally one of these guys. He would travel to Israel, he'd travel to this country, and literally go to these guys' temple in that country. These are the guys that want to rebuild Solomon's temple. They're the dudes that want to bring back what they believe is their Antichrist or their Messiah or what have you. I am not joking in any way, shape, or form. You guys can think I'm batshit crazy. I am not joking in any way, shape, or form. So they're just absolute lunatics at the top of the pile. The thing is that the lower degree guys are just regular happy muppets that actually go about spewing all the lies that have been perpetuated by these guys. I mean, Americans, please do research on your preachers, your ministers, the guys that you believe are telling you the truth about God and Jesus and everything like that. There's so many ministers and preachers in the United States that are part of this organization right here. This is how you're seeing all this World Economic Forum stuff playing out in your local cities, because the World Economic Forum is a Masonic organization. And the money is funneled out through governments and down into your local governments. And you don't have to have your local mayor or an elected official being one of these guys, but if your local elected officials have one of these individuals in their ear, they slowly coerce and manipulate and push things in the way that they want things pushed. This is your deep state. They're behind your drug running. They're behind all the pornography. They're behind all the pedophilia, sex trafficking, child trafficking stuff. I'm not joking. The royal secret. I guarantee you, none of you know what the royal secret is. At the highest degrees, these guys practice the royal secret. That's drinking blood from a child that has gone through a terrifying situation, maybe potentially death, okay, where they have the adrenaline pumping through that child's body. So these guys will drink that blood. They get high from it. I'm not joking. This is an ancient rabbinical practice where when the baby boy's penis was circumcised, the rabbis would literally suck the blood from the baby's penis and get high from it. And it was a practice that was done amongst the families of these people. I mean, it was still being done in New York up until recently, for God's sakes. That's why the whole circumcision ritual amongst these people right here is just an absolutely incredibly important ritual. But they won't tell you why it's an important ritual in any way, shape, or form. You know, and these guys, this is where, at the highest degrees, this is where all your like some of their rituals, their rites to move up higher in the degrees, a lot of it is just a whole bunch of homosexual stuff. I mean, they do some really twisted, sick shit, people. And people need to understand that if you have, in Western society, if you have an uncle or a father or a brother, a family member, a work colleague, you need to start calling them out on this shit. I personally have been calling people out on it. I was talking to some friends, a friend of mine who's in the Navy, and I straight out asked him, I'm like, so why do you guys support this country? He's like, I don't support that country. I said, I seriously asked him, I said, you're one of these guys right here, right? And he's like, well, yeah. But he goes, I'm American. Why would I support this country right here? I said, because all of the guys at the top of the pile in your club are these guys right here. Dude goes silent. Doesn't want to have anything more to do with me. Like, you stay away from me. I'm like, gotcha, MF. I did this to my father. I called my father out on this stuff, most probably about 10 plus years ago, maybe longer, 15 years ago. I was like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Dad, what are you thinking? He goes, well, blah, 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 blah. It's, the chosen land. It's the special place for all these individuals. So I schooled him on this stuff. And he straight out said, literally what I'm telling you right now. I straight out said to him, I said, he said to me, he said, even if half of what you've told me is true, Lawrence, then we've got it wrong. And I told my father, I said, straight up, dude, you don't have 50% of this stuff wrong. You got 100% of it wrong. Well, he still stayed in the club. He still stayed in this little club. This is the club that George Carlin talked about. It's a small invite-only club, and you're not invited. You can only be invited into this club. Straight up. The lower degrees is the place where it's like the schooling area, where the guys at the higher degrees can see which guys are worthwhile moving up. That's what they did with my father. They moved him up. They slowly but surely moved him up. And he stopped. He stopped. And I said to him, why did you stop? And he straight out said, God's honest truth, he said, I wasn't comfortable with some of the things that I was starting to see. and he pulled back big time. But because he was in a small town, they still kept their claws in with them. And I can tell you right now that DJT, Donald John Trump, the current President of the United States, I have not been able to find any information saying that he is one of these guys, but I am telling you 100% that this dude here, these guys right here at the highest degrees, and these guys right here, he is 100% so balls deep in bed with them. It is unbelievable. The current President of the United States is so coerced. It is unbelievable. He's been doing their dirty work for them, all the nefarious dealings and everything that they don't want to, the bankers don't want to get their hands on. He's been their front guy for that stuff since the mid-90s. Because people have forgotten. People have forgotten that the current President of the United States went bankrupt to the banking cartel in New York to the tune of $960 million. Just about a cold billion. And they were literally interviewing the head of the New York banking cartel, because that's all it is. It's a cartel. They're like a mafia today. And there are all these guys and these guys, not all of them, but a good percentage of them, especially the European ones, the Rothschilds, like Lord Jacob de Rothschild, Baron Jacob de Rothschild, that died a year or two ago. He was one of these guys. The head of the Rothschilds banking system, which, by the way, of the banks that own the Federal Reserve, I think 4 of them are European banks, which is Rothschilds. So America is not ran by Americans in any way, shape, or form. But seriously, in an interview with the head of the banking cartel of New York back in the day, back in the early 90s on Larry King's show, they straight out said, we gave Trump 2 opportunities. Either we kill him, and this was on Larry King Live. The guy literally said, either we kill him, and he's like, well, kill him, economically. And Larry King goes, well, yeah, I know what you mean, etc. It's like, he was already dead. Trump was already dead financially when he went bankrupt in the 90s. And what happened was they said, or you end up being the front for our not so clean dealings, where they didn't want to get their hands dirty. And that's material for a whole nother video, because I can tell you right now that Trump's casinos were 100% just fronts for money laundering, the dirty money that the Russian oligarchs were making, selling all the weaponry that was being funneled out of Eastern Europe after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Ever notice how terrorism really started to take off after the 1980s? Yep. These guys in bed with these guys, with the help of Trump. Boom. Terrorism. Yeah. Donald Trump is not the guy America really needs in power right now. That's all there is to it. So, you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the description section below. But I'm going to be exposing the deep state. That's all there is to it. And if there's anybody out there from any government department that wants to funnel me the Epstein files, I'm your man. Have a great day, guys. Cheers.